and the topic will be of her choosing, so she will introduce that topic. I have known her since before she joined the convent, and she joined there in 1987. And when she just lived a block away from here, and she would attend all our functions and volunteer with us for many years until she finally joined. She was also a member of our choir, which was quite prolific in performances at that time. So I'm indeed happy that she could come, not just from the point of view that she's doing today's class, but and relieving me of that, but I'd like to see her now and then. And in San Francisco, she helps with the children in their Sunday school programs, and also helps, along with her other sister nuns, in maintaining the premises, cleaning and arranging the retreat functions and any of their other public functions there. So I will let her now introduce her topic. Thank you.
Tava katambratam tapta jivanam kavibiriditam kalma shapaham Shravana Mangalam Srimadatatam Bhuvigrinantiye Burida Janaha. O Lord, your nectar-like words relieve the burning misery of afflicted souls. Your words, which poets have sung in verses, destroy the sins of worldly people forever. Blessed are they who hear of your vast glory. Blessed indeed are those who speak of you. How unparalleled is their bounty. Good evening, friends. So tonight, I would like to start reading the class on the section I call the 4 questions. I have a feeling we're not going to get through all 4 questions tonight, but it's on page 81. So if we don't get through it, you guys can do it on your own. It's actually a really, really good section of the gospel. It's all good, but I like this particular section very much. The study of the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna is a really important part of our spiritual life. Making a habit of reading the gospel, of thinking about it, thinking about what we've read, it deepens our understanding of our spiritual life. By regularly reading, thinking, and meditating on the recorded accounts of Sri Ramakrishna, our minds and hearts are brought to the Dakshineshwar temple. They're brought to the room in the temple compound where Sri Ramakrishna's cot was. They bring us to Sri Ramakrishna sitting on the cot, surrounded by devotees, and we become one of those devotees sitting there listening to him as we read and think about the gospel. So as we immerse ourselves in this practice of reading, we are sitting with him and we're listening to his words, and they become alive to us. The subject of the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna is God. From page 1 to page 1029. I actually leave out the glossary and the index, but you could include it because it's also all about God. But from beginning to end, the only subject is God. The message given over and over, which really I think is impressive, or I guess it impressed itself on me, that's why I'm impressed, is that the goal of life is to realize God. And Sri Ramakrishna says it in many ways. He says, the goal of life is God. The goal of life is the vision of God. The goal of life is, he just says it in many different ways, but the way I like to think about it is just the goal of life is to realize God. Because religion is realization. Realizing that divinity that's within It exists in each one of us. And it exists inside everyone, every living being. And that's what he's talking about in the gospel. Sri Ramakrishna spoke in a very simple, straightforward manner. He spoke in a way with his stories and his parables that catch our attention. We can remember what he said because we remember the story, and the story triggers the reason why he told the story. We can relate to his teachings. We can relate to them in our day-to-day lives. They mean something. They help us get through the day. They help us deal with the situations we have to deal with. His talks are sometimes serious, and sometimes they're fun. And people are actually, it says, all laugh. It's, you know, it's like he's joking. He's a real person with, you know, different ways of teaching. But more than all this, his talks ring true. They reach us. We understand there's something, he's talking the truth. He's talking about God. He's telling us something that he's experienced, and he's trying to share it with us and guide us to realize the same thing. He's encouraging us. And what he says, it makes sense to us. Even though we live in a different time, we live in a different situation, in a different culture, brought up in a different culture, his words guide us in our spiritual struggles. And over, he reminds us of the one goal in life, to realize God. So today we're going to start reading on page 81. And M is sitting with him, and he asks a very, very common question. How, sir, may we fix our minds on God? How many times have you thought, why can't I keep my mind on God? You know what to do, but you can't do it. And M just says it. It's only a second visit, but still, I mean, he's very serious, and he's asking a very basic question. And the master says, repeat God's name and sing his glories, and keep holy company, and now and then visit God's devotees and holy men. Okay, so right there, he's like giving you so many things to do. So the first one was repeat God's name. And when I read that, I just think of Chaitanya, chant unceasingly the name of the name of God and his glories. And why do you do this? That the mirror of the heart may be cleansed of its dirt. When you repeat God's name, what are you doing? You're bringing God into your heart. You're bringing him into your mind and thoughts. You're filling yourself up with God. You're repeating his name. It's like you're pouring him into you, and you're pushing out all other thoughts. Then he says to sing his glories. The gospel has so many songs. If you learn those songs, if you sing those songs, if you memorize them and recite them as poems, they actually really help you in situations in your life. A stanza of that song will come in, and it's, you know, it kind of wells up from within. What I like to think of when I think of sing the glories of God is Ram Nam. Ram Nam is one of my favorite things. So what are you doing when you're singing Ram Nam? You're thinking of Rama, the ideal man. You're thinking of all the situations in his life that he went through. You're thinking of all of his companions and all the situations they were in with Rama, how Rama guided them, how they helped Rama, how they served Rama. And you're with Rama. You're raising your mind, and you're actually being with Rama while you're singing Ram Nam. You can also use that in other times when you go for a walk. You can be walking with Rama. You can be walking with him in your mind from Ayodhya to the boat, and from the boat to the forest, and you can walk with him in the forest, and you can just your walk can turn into a time spent with Rama. If you go to the edge of the water, you can feel like you're in Rameshwaram and you're on your way to Sri Lanka, and you're at the edge of the water. You can be at the edge of a pond or a lake or the ocean, but it's like, picture yourself with Rama on that beach. If you're in trouble, you can think of Rama in Sri Lanka fighting Ravana and what trouble he was in. And, when Lakshmana got shot and he had to send Hanuman off to the mountain. I mean, there's just so many situations he was in that are probably worse than anything we're in. So we can probably, get some help from Rama. And also, if you're in a hard situation with people, I always like to think of the situation with Kaikeyi, in that when Rama was told he wasn't going to be crowned prince and he was going to be sent into exile for 13 years, or 13 years? 14 years. So I think whatever struggle I'm dealing with, however I look at it, it's not anything what Rama went through, and how he handled it was so graceful. He was very, oh, you want me to do this? I will do this. I will honor your promise. So I just think we can be a little more gracious. We could be a little more strong and be like Rama. And the last part about Ramanam that I really like is that you sing it sitting in front of his picture. And so you're seeing Rama's form, you're seeing his bow and arrows, he's sitting next to Sita, Lakshmana's to his side, fanning him, and Hanuman's kneeling at his feet. So you can put yourself right next to Hanuman or behind Hanuman if you want, and you're there too, and you're singing his glories. And what are you doing when you're singing his glories? What is he doing? You're singing, he's listening, and he's enjoying the singing. So by your doing Ramnam, you're serving him. And that kind of changed the whole dynamic of a relationship between a devotee and God. It's not, what can you give me? What can Rama give me? It's like, what I want to give you something, so I will entertain you. And that concept, I think, is very powerful. Okay, so that was the second thing Sri Ramakrishna said. To keep your mind on God is to sing his glories. Okay, then he says, keep holy company, and now and then visit God's devotees and holy men. Keeping holy company is very important, because normally we take one step into the world and the world kind of pulls you and you just keep going. But when you have holy company, it kind of blocks that, and it keeps you centered, helps to keep you centered. So I think holy company is just a very important part, because it's just a reminder of where your mind should be. Okay. After this, he says, the mind cannot dwell on God if it is immersed day and night in worldliness, in worldly duties and responsibilities. It is most necessary to go into solitude now and then and think of God. So when I read this, I think you really have to define what worldliness is. And what I've come up with is, worldliness is basically being selfish. It's being focused on yourself. And I looked up the word egotism, which means an exaggerated belief in one's own importance. And we all think we're the center of the universe, because we are. In our little world, we're the center because that's how we're projecting everything out. But we're not the center of the universe. And we're really not that important. So if you think of the whole world and where you are in the world, it kind of puts things into perspective. So what is worldliness? I came across this at the end of the Gospel, where Sri Ramakrishna is talking to Dr. Sarkar. And he said, what is this madness of yours about money? Why such attachment to wife? Why such longing for name and fame? Give up all these now and direct your mind to God with whole soul devotion. Enjoy the bliss of God. And I thought that was kind of a definition of worldliness. It's the mind going out. It's being pulled by the senses. You want money because you want to enjoy. You're attached to people because they give you some sense of enjoyment or some sense of something. I mean, I don't know. It's enjoyment. They fulfill a desire. Why such longing for name and fame? Because you want something that you think is going to satisfy you on the outside. So I think worldliness, you could sum it up very shortly by saying it's selfishness, being self-centered, thinking about me, I. So the mind cannot dwell on God if it is immersed day and night in worldliness, in worldly duties and responsibilities. It is most necessary to go into solitude now and then and think of God. So when I think of solitude, going into solitude, there's different ways you can do it. But solitude, I think, just means being alone, being without another person. And when you're not with any other person or any other being alone, then you can look within and your mind can be fixed on the heart, on God. To fix the mind on God is very difficult. It's very difficult in the beginning, unless one practices meditation in solitude. When a tree is young, it should be fenced all around. Otherwise, it may be destroyed by cattle. So we don't have many cattle here. I mean, we don't have them in San Francisco either. So I kind of liken this to the puppy mind. I call it the puppy mind. When the tree is young, you need to fence it in. When the puppy is young, you need to control it. The puppy mind is the one, you tell it to sit and it sits, and then something happens over there and it's like over there, and then something happens, another dog comes and that's his best friend, and then a person comes and that's, you know, the best thing that ever happened to him, and the mind just jumps. You've all seen this, right? I mean, it's very cute, but if that's your mind, it's not cute. It's like irritating. So anyway, I think you need to have that leash, and that leash will keep you from being bashed. Of course, he's talking about, I think the cattle are worldly pleasures and worldly desires destroying the sapling of our spiritual life. So maybe the puppy thing doesn't work, but I liked it, so I thought I'd throw it in. But if we're a little green shoot of spirituality trying to grow, we do need to have a fence around us, and that fence is all these things he's mentioned: holy company, singing the glories of God. It's just really important to protect yourself so that you can grow. Then he says, to meditate, you should withdraw within yourself and retire to a secluded corner. Withdraw within yourself or retire to a secluded corner or to the forest. So withdraw within yourself, we all understand that. It's like sitting quietly and closing your eyes so that your eyes aren't pulled out, and just focusing and going within. But if you can't do that, you could, because it's not, you're being distracted, then you could find a secluded corner. And I knew someone who lived in a situation where there was no seclusion. I mean, there were a lot of people around. So they ended up making a space literally in their closet, and they sat in their closet and just hoped nobody would open the closet door. I don't think we have to do that. But anyway, you could find a place that's just where people aren't there and sit. Or to the forest. To the forest means I think here, it would mean like going to Arlington to the retreat. Or for us, we have our Olima retreat. It's a place to go where there are no distractions. There's no, I mean, unless you live there, then there's probably a lot of distractions because you have to run it. But if you're going there as a retreatant, it's a place to go where you just have a space to do your spiritual practice. The way we run our retreat is there is no Wi-Fi, there is no program. You go there and we give you a space to do your practice, and you are expected to bring your spiritual study projects or whatever you're doing, and you can go for walks, but you're basically to go within. And we ask people to do a device-free retreat while they're, or as best as they can possibly do. And this term device-free retreat came because there was a podcast, I think it was a podcast, or maybe it was an article, but an NPR journalist was invited to Mount Shasta, to the Buddhist monastery, to attend a retreat for journalists. And he wasn't particularly a spiritual aspirant, and he had never gone on a spiritual retreat before. And he thought, oh, this will be good. I'll write about this. This will be something I can write about. So he went, and when he arrived, he was asked to put his phone in a basket, and he would get it back at the end. And he said that was the hardest part of the retreat, that to be totally disconnected from the outside world on the top of Mount Shasta. And he said he went through withdrawal symptoms. He literally was like, his hand would be going into his pocket. He would be wanting to check his text. He wanted to, and he said it was a very eye-opening experience. So I heard this and I thought, well, this is how I'm going to explain it to the people who are wanting to use our retreat when we give them the orientation. That the whole point is that you disconnect yourself from the outside world and you spend that time in solitude, going within, or whatever practice you have, but just being quiet without any distraction. And because it's pretty hard for people to do this, when the Swami interviews them, he actually tells them, there's a reason why he does this, but he tells them it's very important that you write a schedule so that you know what to do, because there is no schedule. There's just a space for you to do your practice. So there's a shrine, there's a library, there's a kitchen, bedrooms, but there's nothing to do. So he said, at 9 o'clock, you should plan to do this. At 10 o'clock, just write out a schedule before you come so that you have like a plan. Because at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and this has happened several times, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, people start to kind of freak out because they don't have anything to do and they don't know what to do. So I think if you prepare and also if you do it, it really lets you know your mind and also makes you go deeper within. It's a very nice experience, and it kind of shows you don't need to be scrolling on your phone. You don't need to be connected to people outside. We tell them, let people know that you're not available. You're going on retreat. You won't be answering your phone or checking your texts or your emails, but when you're off retreat, you'll get back to them. And I think it's a really freeing experience, and I'm kind of glad we give people that opportunity. Okay, so you can meditate within yourself, retire to a secluded corner, or go to the forest. And you should always discriminate between the real and the unreal. God alone is real, the eternal substance. All else is unreal. That is, it's impermanent. By discriminating thus, one should shake off the impermanent objects from the mind. I think here the important thing is, what is real? What is real, it doesn't change. Everything else changes. and it doesn't satisfy. Anything that changes, anything that's going to decay and die, anything that's going to stop doing what it's doing right now, it's not going to satisfy you. So why waste your time on it? That's the way I look at this. And if you look at things and they're not going to last, he says, just get rid of them. Just go for the real. Like, why waste your time? The problem is the mind wants enjoyment. It wants it now. And I think it must get it from these little spurts of something. Like, I like to think of like a little bag of chips, you know, that you put in your lunchbox, and you eat it and it tastes really good, but it doesn't satisfy you. It's like you always want more. That's the impermanence of all the things that don't last. So my way of thinking, I don't know, it's like Cheetos. That's like, I love Cheetos, but they're so like, you eat them, you can eat them, and I mean, literally, I have eaten them till I was sick. And you still want more. Like, that's Maya, that's the world, a bag of Cheetos. So yeah, I stopped eating them because it's just hopeless. Yeah, I mean, that's really, I think that's like the perfect example. Okay. Then M asks his second question, how ought we to live in the world? And Sri Ramakrishna says, do all your duties, but keep your mind on God. Live with all, with wife and children, father and mother, and serve them. Treat them as if they were very dear to you, but know in your heart of hearts that they do not belong to you. I like the fact that he says, treat them as if they were very dear to you, because they are dear to you. But then know in your heart of hearts that they're not yours. And, you know, let them be free, let them fly. But you do serve them, and you do everything you can for them. Even like coming to the temple and serving devotees, do everything you can to serve them. Do everything you can. But know in your heart of hearts, it's Sri Ramakrishna who's important. The devotees they're there, and they're very dear, but it's Thakur that's important, Thakur and Ma. The maidservant in the house of a rich man performs all household duties, but her thoughts are fixed on her own home in her native village. She brings up her master's children as if they were her own. She even speaks of them as my Rama or my Hari, but in her own mind, she knows very well that they do not belong to her at all. So that just, I think that's Sri Ramakrishna telling people to be detached, even though your role is a mother, a father, a son, a daughter, a sister, a brother. Just be detached. Have that relationship and do what you're supposed to do, but be detached and know that who you really belong to is Sri Ramakrishna. The tortoise moves about in the water, but can you guess where her thoughts are? There on the bank where her eggs are lying. Do all your duties in the world, but keep your mind on God. But this reminds me of as the toothache or a sore toe. You can go on with life with a sore toe or a toothache. It's not fun, but you can do your jobs, but your mind is always on that ache. You can't ignore it, especially like if the toothache is bad, then it's like, it's kind of like a big balloon over here. So do all your duties in the world, but keep your mind on God, not in a painful big way in your teeth, but in a positive way, keep your mind on God. If you enter the world without first cultivating love for God, you will be entangled more and more. You will be overwhelmed with its danger and its grief, its sorrows. And the more you think of worldly things, the more you will be attached to them. So it's very true. Where is your mind? That was kind of my, going to be my topic was, instead of the 4 questions, it was going to be, where is your mind? Because where you put your mind, that's where you are. So if you're putting your mind in the world to worldly things, then it's not going to be fixed on God. We have on Vallejo Street, our temple's on Vallejo Street in San Francisco, and the people there are pretty well off. And when a new car comes out, you start seeing them on the street. So right now, we're just beginning to see cyber trucks on Vallejo Street. When I first saw, I mean, I've seen 2. I mean, they regularly park there. So, but when I saw the first one, I thought it was a joke. And then I saw the second one, and I remembered when Priuses first came out, everybody on Vallejo Street got a Prius. I mean, almost every car was a Prius. And I think that's probably going to happen with these cyber trucks. But when I saw the cyber truck, it looks like a toy. And I was thinking, I bet whoever owns that truck is like very attached to that truck. And all they can think about is my cyber truck. Then we have a Sunday school kid who is so obsessed with cyber trucks. And I thought, my God, he's like a budding Vallejo Street resident. Anyway, it's very funny what the mind, if you have something that's new and like a toy and it goes up and down and I don't even know how you drive it, but anyway, I mean, it doesn't seem to have a steering wheel and they're all like, that's what they're meditating on. And I thought, well, okay, but it's impermanent. So anyway, I don't think they think like that. Well, maybe they do because they keep getting new cars. So anyway, okay, so about this, the more you think of worldly things, the more you are attached to them. As you probably know, this is Indigenous Peoples Month, and Columbus Day was just like last Monday. So in our Sunday school, we do topics every Sunday, and we try to do different religions. So last Sunday, we did Indigenous spirituality, Indigenous people's spirituality. And so one of the stories that we discussed, which I was not familiar with, but it really struck home, was a Cherokee story of the 2 wolves. And some of you may be familiar with it, but I want to share it because I think it's a wonderful story. So a Cherokee elder was talking to his nephew, and he said, inside of me, there are 2 wolves at war. The evil wolf is arrogance, self-pity, anger, jealousy, false pride, envy, inferiority, sorrow, regret, superiority, greed, resentment, lies, and ego. I felt like he was talking about Raja Yoga. Anyway, so that's the evil wolf. The good wolf is love, hope, benevolence, kindness, joy, peace, humility, serenity, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith. These 2 wolves are inside of me, they're inside of you, they're inside of everyone, and they're always at war. And then his nephew said, he thought about it for a while, and then he said, who wins? And the elder said, the one you feed. And when I heard that, I was like, oh, that's it. Like, that's Vedanta. That's Sri Ramakrishna could have told this story. The one you feed, where your mind is. Where are you putting your mind? Are you putting your mind on love, on joy, on peace, on generosity? Or are you putting it on lying, on yourself? The ego part, it's all about me. What am I getting out of this? Being arrogant, being proud, being sad, regretting what you've done. All those things, that's the bad wolf. That's the one that pulls you away. And all the good wolf, if you feed the good wolf, that will fix your mind on God. So that was my Cherokee story. Okay, so Sri Ramakrishna says, first rub your hands with oil and then break open the jackfruit. Otherwise, they will be smeared with its sticky milk. First, secure the oil of divine love, and then set your hands to the duties of the world. So first of all, I think you need to start feeding that little green shoot that's fenced in, and you need to spend time in holy company and kind of get your grounding and your bearing and develop a love of God and a relationship with the divinity that's in you. And then you can go out into the world and you won't get full of the sticky milk from the jackfruit. Jackfruit? But, once again, he says, but one must go into solitude to attain this divine love. So again, go to the retreat, leave your devices off. We were talking there's a Sanskrit term that's called antarmukhi. Antarmukhi means facing within. And I think it's really important, just almost for your sanity, but especially for your spiritual life, to have a time when you're not connected with the outside world. So after dusk, in the evening, disconnect from the world. Don't spend your time scrolling on the internet. Don't spend your time listening to podcasts. Don't spend your time reading the newspaper. Disconnect, turn your phone off. I don't know unless you have to because of an emergency call or something, but just disconnect and spend your time reading the gospel, reading spiritual books, reading the lives of saints. Put your mind in a higher level and then spend your whole night with them, because before you go to bed, what you read carries over into your sleep. So all that time you can be spending. And then when you get up in the morning, don't turn your phone on the first thing. Leave it off for a while and do your spiritual practice and set yourself up for the day. I think this keeping the phone on all the time, being at the beck and call of people, it's kind of crazy, because you don't need to answer every text as soon as it comes in or every email as soon as you receive it. It can wait. What's important, I guess, what is important to you? If that's important to you, maybe you should do that and get over it. But I think what should be important is where your mind is, and your mind should be on higher things. And I think my throat's giving out, so I'm wondering, can I stop? Swamiji, is that okay? Ben?
Go for a little while longer. You need a glass of water or what?
I have some water, but
Yeah.
how about some questions?
That's what to do, is see if any of this.
Has anybody understood any? Uh-oh, this is going to be a hard one.
No. What do you say? The solitude is mone bone kone.
Mone kone bone.
Mone kone bone. Means in your mind, in the corner, in the forest.
Oh, is that what he said in Bengali?
Yeah. Mone kone bone.
Mone, kone.
Bone.
Bone.
Mone is corner, bone is forest. Okay. Can I ask you one thing? Solitude, can you get out of driving out by yourself?
Be careful.
Yeah, I know. Don't get into samadhi.
Actually, in the Bay Area, people have really long commutes. And even to come to the temple takes a long time. And one devotee said, I don't mind, because she was going, actually, during rush hour, she was leaving the temple and going to Santa Rosa, which is like
Sorry.
bumper to bumper. I'm from probably Lombard Street, which is just a few blocks away from the temple, over the Golden Gate Bridge, through I mean, I don't know, it's Novato, it's horrible. We see it when we come back from our retreat, because we come back and we're in the, what do you call it, counter commute, and we're coming at a good pace, and they're all just bumper to bumper. Even the carpool lane. I mean, it's every day, like from 2:30 to 6. It's really bad. And I said, oh, you shouldn't, you should leave now. I was trying to get her to go around 2. And then she was like, no, I want to help. And then finally at like 3:30, bad time, she said, and I said, but you're going to get caught in that horrible traffic. She goes, I don't mind. I use this time to think about what Swami has taught. And, I was so impressed. I mean, because that was going to be a long commute. And the Bay Area. I mean, Santa Rosa is pretty far. So yes, you can, but don't go too deep, because if you go into samadhi, then...
I will get there, but I love that. Sorry.
Also, like being in a car by yourself, no one, I mean, turn your phone off though. I mean, because otherwise somebody can call you. But if you have, if you're in your car with your phone off, like they can't knock on the door, they can't ring a bell, how can they get a hold of you? You're free. Like, that to me is freedom, like being away from bells and buzzers. Uh-oh. Yes, Swami.
So one of the things that Ramakrishna advised them, and you didn't elaborate on it yet, and I want you to, was try to seek out holy company and spend time. Talk a little bit about varieties of holy company. What is that? What does that mean? Some of the people here are brand new, maybe. They may not be able to track. It's not a group of
Holy company is a good subject, yeah.
So, could you repeat the
just
question?
So the question is elaborate a little bit.
On my microphone, I think. So the question is, elaborate on holy company and explain the different types of holy company that there is. What it means. Holy company, in a really the best way, is to spend time at the feet of your teacher, or of a sadhu, where they're living the life, and they've studied the life, and they can tell you what to do and how to circumambulate or circumvent the problems in life. But it comes in many ways. I mean, you just spending time with devotees and talking about God, it's all inside you anyway, and it will come out in a discussion, and you'll discover things that you understand that you didn't realize you understood by discussing it with your fellow devotees. Holy company can be reading a book, like especially the Gospel, but any holy book, because what you're getting is like the essence of their teachings. Like if you read the Bible, like the message of Jesus, it's like reading Sri Ramakrishna's words, just set in a different venue. Holy company, it can be listening to the Swami's talks. It can be listening to music. Music is very powerful. What I find is, because I've been in the choir here, I've been in the choir in San Francisco, and I can't sing Bengali songs. I mean, I probably could sing them. I wouldn't know what they mean. But a lot of the songs in here, Preetiprana from Santa Barbara has put to music, and we've sung them, I mean, learned them. John Schlenk has put stuff to music from John Schlenk from New York. And you find, as you're going through problems with people or something, a phrase will just pop into your head, and you feel like singing it out loud, like, I can't think of anything right now, but it happens all the time. It's just because those songs are so applicable that's why I said you should memorize them as poems even, because the words, what the poets, saints who have written these songs, they're telling you, they're guiding you. They've experienced things and they want to move you forward and help you, or help you think of God, you know, if it's a descriptive song. Like even Shama, Thou Art Flying Kites. I mean, we sing that a lot. And sometimes out of the blue, someone in the convent will go, Shama, Thou Art Flying Kites. And we're like, oh my God, where did that come from? Especially, we have a senior nun who's sung a lot. And she just spontaneously breaks out singing in the dining room. And I think it's really inspiring, because you're thinking about these songs that are in the gospel. Yeah. But do you have anything else, like any other Holy Company suggestions?
Maybe the effect of Holy Company, how
Oh.
it may gradually transform people.
So what is the effect of Holy Company? Holy Company in the beginning, you don't understand it. You just feel an attraction. You feel like a very positive energy. And it's happy. It's not a downer at all. It's like the opposite of that. So when you're new, you don't really understand it, but it pulls you. And then as you spend more time in Holy Company, your thinking changes. The way that you see the world, what you value, and you don't even notice it. In fact, you may not notice it, but other people notice it who knew you like before, and they'll see you and they say, you're so different. And you're like, no, I'm not. And then they're like, yeah, you are. And then you think, yeah, I am. I'm really different. How did that happen? It's not a conscious thing, but I think what it is, it's the real you is being like the onion, you're peeling off all these layers that aren't really you just by being in Holy Company, just by keeping your mind at a higher level, just by going into solitude and not being on your phone all the time, every free minute you have. Just think about where are you putting your mind? I mean, for where you are now, like, where is your mind? Is your mind like thinking, what am I going to eat? Is your mind thinking, what am I going to do tomorrow? Oh, I wanted to say that. I forgot that. The gospel, the really cool thing about the gospel is Sri Ramakrishna is really, like, he's already real. I mean, he's God. I mean, he's a realized soul, right? All right. So he's helping everybody else to realize who they really are, realize the truth. And he's in the moment, he's helping you and you and you. He's like, he's not somewhere else. He's not thinking about his food. He's not thinking about his job. He's not thinking about his phone. He's thinking about where are you? What can I do for you? How can I help you go forward? He's in the moment. How many times are you even talking to somebody and your mind is like somewhere else and you're very distracted? We don't even realize it. And when you read the gospel and if you put yourself in it, like as if he's like talking to you, you're thinking, how does he do that? It's not about him. I think that's the point. And so I think Holy Company also really helps you get over that selfishness, that self-centered, that thing that I'm the center of the universe. It's more, you know, the center of the universe is God, which is in you. Yes, you are the center of the universe in that sense, but not in the sense about I am not. It's God is, or my divinity is. Anyway, that's my view on that.
Yeah, okay.
I can stop now?
You're free.
beautifully. And on behalf of everyone here, I can say that we are waiting to hear more on the next opportunity.
Yeah, we should have.
So,
Yeah.
thank you so much. So she will conclude with some chant after our announcements. And tomorrow evening, Swami Preetiprana will be conducting the class on Towards the Goal Supreme. It is an online class via Google Meet. There is two-way discussion online. That will be at 7 p.m. And Friday evening, Swami Satyamananda will be giving a talk here in this chapel, continuing on the series Mantra Yoga. It will be part 2, and on the topic will be the 3 powers of the mantra. That will be at 7 p.m. here in the chapel. This Saturday at 10 a.m., the Tapovan will be having a Karma Yoga Day. So whoever is capable of going out there is going to be quite welcome.
And it's going to be apple pressing. We're gonna
And
attend to making apples. It'll be fun. So I'm gonna.
Swami Preetiprana is in the audience, and he's describing apple pressing for making apple juice, because there's a large orchard there and
Apples
many
are picked,
apples.
They're just waiting. So that's hopefully the
And-
weather cooperates. All weather related.
And this Sunday, Swami Satyamananda will be giving a talk on the lower and higher knowledge of Vedanta. And there will also be the children's program. If you bring your children, please come 10 minutes before the hour to let your children off with our Sunday school teachers. So, and then also a reminder that on Halloween night, October 31st, we will be having Kali Puja here in the chapel. It will be live streamed also. So thank you all very
What
much.
time?
That will be at 6 p.m. 6 p.m.
Global Vedanta.
And we are also proud to announce that issue number 7 of Global Vedanta Online will, or we hope, will be available for download tomorrow. So for those of you that get our notifications, they'll get a link. If you are not on our list, you can just go to our website and download it from there. So again, thank you all very much for attending, and Preetiprana will conclude with a chant.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. That is perfect. This is perfect. And from the perfect is derived. The perfect, having been subtracted from the perfect verily remains. Om, peace, peace,